Hello everyone, welcome to Kyle is Famous. Okay, this is a hilarious game. I played before, but I want to visit this game again with you guys. So without further ado, let's get into the...
Kyle woke up. He is famous.
Okay, he's already famous. Sure, tell me more.
Kyle is host of the most popular talk show in recent memory, Stay Up Late with Kyle.
Stay up late with Kyle. Okay, more?
Stay Up Late with Kyle has grown in popularity quickly in the last year, and the public has noticed.
Sure they are.
Inside has called Kyle a most excellent dumpy white man.
Okay.
Top Tech noted that Kyle is inspiring youth to explore STEM fields.
Okay.
Most other talk shows are dedicated to discussing Kyle and his personal details.
So, Kyle is top.
Most
Top
online videos are best of clips taken from Kyle's latest broadcast.
Oh,
The eye of the world is upon Kyle.
yeah. Imagine huge eye looking at the Kyle all the time. Yeah, that would be horrifying.
Tonight is Kyle's most important guest interview yet.
Why is that most important? I never give a thought about it.
Stay Up Late with Kyle will be featuring Rachel May. She is a kind and lovely philanthropist.
Okay.
She is dear to the hearts of many. This interview requires preparation.
Okay, I will prepare.
Kyle cracked his eyes open,
Trust me.
knowing today is his last chance to prepare for the interview.
Okay.
Kyle has 30 hours left. He must choose his actions wisely.
30 hours. Oh. Okay. I'm gonna go through this game normal. Try to go normally. Then let's try other options, shall we? Kyle's first decision of the morning was made wisely. Exit the bed with the away. Oh. I can just do that. Okay. Open the closet. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is.
It's compared to this. Oh god. Suit of armor. Slick suit.
Kyle
Okay.
miraculously crammed his dumpy body into the suit. The chest pockets were filled with random knickknacks.
Okay. Sit at the desk. I'll check in the desk drawer right now.
Kyle wrote down his first question.
Are you a mother?
Kyle wrote down his second question.
Oh, beef, mashed or blended? What are some diet tips? Ever eaten raw egg whole? What are some diet tips?
Kyle wrote down his third question.
I purposely ran over puppy. Okay. Do you ever smile? What do your funniest story?
Kyle wrote down his last question.
Do you feel guilty? Are you guilty? What is your guilty pleasure?
Kyle ripped his page of notes out of the notebook and got up from the desk.
Back to desk. Oh, how many hours I spent at the desk? We had 30 hours. Now only 18? How is that even possible? Back to room. Exit. Bedroom to hallway. Move to kitchen. Open fridge.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Prepare breakfast.
Kyle constructed a breakfast of poached eggs and toast, along with a small fruit cup and grilled sausage.
Okay, let's
Kyle ate his breakfast slowly and thoughtfully, enjoying every bite.
Oh,
He felt refreshed.
what he just ate. That sound like some kind of plasticos. Did he eat the eggshells too? Okay, return to hallway. We have 10 hours. Okay, leave the apartment. Okay, we have some time to spend.
Kyle approached his downstairs neighbor's door and knocked.
Okay,
A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door.
great, and start conversation.
Good morning, neighbor, said Kyle cheerfully. Gabby looked at Kyle expectantly.
Ask Gabby about Rachel.
Gabby, Kyle asked, what are your true thoughts about Rachel May?
Tell me more.
Oh, Rachel? Gabby said. She's a wonderful woman. Her generous acts have inspired more good work than bad.
Why did you pause when you said then bad? What did she do?
Gabby trailed off, not meeting Kyle's eyes.
Oh, okay.
After several uncomfortable minutes of silence, Kyle turned around and left.
Back to street. This is the text store. Ask for a few samples.
Kyle
Hi,
hurried
hi.
to the set.
Okay.
Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity.
Okay.
As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled.
Approach Rachel.
Good evening, Kyle, she said, looking him in the eyes. I've been looking forward to being here.
Oh, really?
Kyle responded.
I didn't know. Okay, scream and spin in circle. Answer politely.
And I as well, Rachel, answered Kyle, extending his hand in greeting. You are a most welcome guest.
Shake hand.
After other mild exchanges of pleasantries, Kyle and Rachel were prompted to take their places for the broadcast.
Okay.
A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on.
Start broadcast.
Good evening, everyone, said Kyle, looking at the camera. Welcome back to Stay Up Late with Kyle.
Introduce Rachel.
Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction.
Yep.
Kyle motioned to Rachel, who smiled and waved at the camera. Hello, Kyle, she said. I'm glad to be here.
Me too, Rachel. Me too.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss, so we might as well dive right in, said Kyle.
Okay. If we choose the swimsuit, we might be able to dive in.
I'm very ready, said Rachel with a winning smile. Kyle produced the notes he had taken earlier.
Are you a mother?
Rachel, I and many others would love to know, are you a mother? Kyle looked up from his notes. Well, being a single woman with a career, she answered, that's not something that has crossed my mind.
Oh, you are single. Okay.
Rachel smiled genuinely at Kyle.
Okay.
Very reasonable indeed, said Kyle. He referenced his paper of questions.
Okay.
Kyle asked another question.
What are some diet tips?
Rachel, you manage to keep such a thin and healthy figure, said Kyle. What is your best diet tip?
Oh,
Well, a good diet starts with a plan, answered Rachel. And don't break it. Cheat days can turn into a habit. But, she continued, that doesn't mean a midnight snack here and there isn't allowed. She smiled.
but you have to brush your teeth.
Kyle looked at his flabby self, decided not to comment, and moved on.
Okay.
Kyle asked another question.
What is your funniest story?
You've been involved in a lot of different things, said Kyle. But what's your funniest story? Well, that's a great question, Kyle, said Rachel. I think the story I always remember is the first time I tried to make dinner for my family. In the soup I made, I swapped out the water with milk and tipped the whole jar of salt in the pot. While my family was sick from trying to eat it, I swiped their things and locked myself in my room.
How did you manage to do that? I can't possibly think of how.
Rachel laughed elegantly.
Okay.
Kyle decided to move on. Kyle asked another question.
What is your guilt pressure?
We all have one. What's your guilty pleasure? Ooh, well, that's an easy answer, said Rachel, dipping pickles in chocolate sauce.
Okay.
It might sound strange, but it's tangy and sweet at the same time. I eat it far too often. Rachel smiled. After reading his final question, Kyle looked up from his paper. Well, Rachel, he said, I think that's all I was planning on asking you. If that's the case, Kyle, may I ask you something in return? Asked Rachel, smiling one more time.
Sure, ask away.
Do you prepare for your interviews in advance? Because you seem very together.
Yeah.
Before Kyle could answer, the camera shut down. The broadcast was over.
Why? We are not even finished. Didn't say goodbyes. Huh. What kind of a strange set.
Kyle returned home knowing the interview had gone well. But as he lay in bed and drifted to sleep, he felt that perhaps something was still missing.
Yeah. Kyle prepared very well. More world options unlocked. Okay. Reset. Okay. Wither away.
Kyle decided to stay put and wither away. Kyle withered successfully and died.
Shucks.
Kyle is now a ghost. This does not relieve him of his responsibilities.
Oh, poop. Come on. I want to just hunt away. Scavenge.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for...
Bugs.
Kyle started to pick between the fuzz of his bedroom carpet, hoping to catch a stray beetle or two.
Oh. I wondered, will he find any? That would be really. Never mind.
Soon, he had a small handful of various insects, dead and alive.
How? Are your floor that dirty? Save it for later.
Kyle stashed the wriggling mass for later use.
Back to room. Exit the bedroom to hallway. Check the locked door.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
Flow through as a ghost.
Kyle used his ghostly powers to walk straight through the door.
Go inside. Kyle found himself in the room. He stared the various items sent to him by fan. Check the sewing machine.
Kyle walked over to the dilapidated sewing machine. Its box was only half removed.
Okay. What in the world? So, a bug puppet.
Kyle started sewing dead bugs together to make small, actuated finger puppets.
Oh,
Kyle crafted a bug puppet for each finger. He named them after guests he had previously interviewed on his show.
check supernatural artifact.
This was one of the many mysterious artifacts Kyle had been sent over the years.
Who sent them? Exactly.
Kyle stashed the mysterious artifact for later use.
Back to room. Back to hallway. Leave the apartment. Visit the tech store. Okay, I'm gonna steal a Techno Gym.
Quickly, before the attendant could acknowledge him, Kyle grabbed Techno Jim by the shoulders.
Oh,
Finding that Techno Jim's cardboard feet were bolted to the ground, Kyle started to heave upwards.
can I?
After several tugs, Techno Jim broke free, leaving one foot and one leg behind.
Go.
Kyle glanced at the attendant, who was staring, bewildered, and ran outside.
Yeah. way to start a day goes stealing a item in your shop. Hunt around.
Kyle felt a sudden pull on his heart.
Okay.
Had he abandoned his job as a ghost? Was he fulfilling his spooky, ethereal role that he'd accepted while lying in bed this morning? Kyle realized he had no other choice. He must spend his day spooking about.
Who the fluffing wrote this script? It was so good.
Kyle decided he should make a plan about who or where he should spook.
Spook neighbor Gabby?
Kyle believed that Gabby would be delighted to have him spook about a bit. Kyle started to slowly creep to Gabby's door in a very spooky way.
Okay.
He crouched by Gabby's door, cooing quietly and waiting for her to leave so he could cause her a spook.
Okay.
It didn't take long. Soon, Gabby exited her apartment and started walking towards her car. Kyle crept behind her, invisible to all senses. Gabby opened the driver's side door and got in. She seemed to be leaving for some errands. Kyle was struck with a wonderful idea. Kyle started to run to the back of Gabby's car. Perhaps if he could catch her before she left, he could hide and... Kyle could make noises as she drove. He could follow her around on her errand, knocking over small objects near... Gabby put the car in reverse and floored the accelerator. Invisible to all senses, Kyle was crushed underneath the back tires of the car, creating a large boom.
Oh.
Gabby figured she'd hit the curb. She put the car into forward and floored the accelerator again. Kyle became locked in an endless loop of Gabby trying to move her car out of her parking space, being run over. As the day started to wane and it drew closer to the time of Rachel's interview, Kyle ceased to be a ghost, per normal. Gabby neither noticed nor stopped. Kyle was forced to conduct Rachel's interview while being run over.
Okay.
Kyle's crew moved the filming set next to Gabby's apartment.
Why? Why?
Rachel appeared. Kyle asked her many questions. They shared several laughs. The interview was successful.
Okay.
The sound of Gabby flooring her car's accelerator drowned out large sections of the episode. Kyle's first decision of the morning was made wisely.
Okay, let's go fast.
Kyle decided to stay put and wither away.
Okay.
Kyle is now... Kyle exited his bed and took a quick glance.
With the way.
Kyle decided...
Shucks.
Kyle is now...
Get up out of the bed. Sit at the desk. Check in the desk drawer. See this small key.
Kyle grabbed the small key he kept.
Right now.
Kyle wrote down his first question.
Am I a mother?
Kyle wrote down his second question.
Am I eating a raw egg?
Kyle wrote down his third question.
I purposely ran over a puppy.
Kyle wrote down his last question.
Are you guilty?
Kyle ripped his...
Back to desk. Back to room. Exit the hallway. Check the locked door.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the... Kyle used his...
Go inside. Get laser claymore.
Expecting a battle, Kyle grabbed the laser claymore. Kyle walked over to the dilapidated sewing machine.
Check the supernatural artifact.
This was one of the many mysterious artifacts Kyle had been sent over the years.
I'm gonna smash it.
Kyle began pounding the mysterious artifact with both fists. Within a few hours, it had become dust. An ancient force trapped in the artifact was released and turned Kyle into a lizard demon.
Oh. Okay. I didn't expect that. I was hoping to get become alive again, since I am a ghost. But now I am a lizard. Okay. Okay. Back to hallway. Move to kitchen. Open fridge.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Eat condiment.
Kyle started to grab condiments from the fridge, squirting them into his mouth with both hands. Ketchup, horseradish, and mayonnaise entered Kyle's mouth at a rate that soon overwhelmed his ability to swallow.
Okay, that's gonna be so awful.
Kyle spewed the excess condiment slurry across the kitchen, covering the furniture and walls. Kyle continued until all of the condiments had been emptied. Kyle hurried to the set. Per normal, he ceased to be a ghost before he arrived. Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and Rachel's smile turned to horror as she realized she was looking not at a human, but a lizard demon. Pandemonium ensued. Scripts went flying, crew members ran in all directions, lights were knocked over. As Kyle watched the chaos around him, his lizard demon form enveloped his last shred of humanity.
Oh.
Kyle grew to a massive size. Within minutes, he had demolished the now empty set.
Okay.
A local force of 5 spunky teenagers in brightly colored apparel arrived at the scene to fight Kyle.
Oh, what?
As the teenagers swung at him with their spunky, individualized weapons, Kyle pushed them over with his foot. Kyle's rampage of the studio ruins continued, but in another part of the city, a hero was rising up. In a dusty apartment on the top floor of an old skyscraper in the oldest part of town sat a large man named Frank. Few people in the world knew that Frank existed. Fewer knew his name.
Oh.
Frank was watching the local news. A story about the studio rampage was playing. Quickly, Frank got up from his chair. He opened a small door hidden behind a poster on his wall. Inside was an unbelievable mound of fat-ridden foods, unrefrigerated and fairly rotten.
What in the world?
Frank began to consume the mound at a frightening rate. His body began to puff. Frank expanded, faster and faster with each minute. He burst through the roof.
Oh.
Within minutes, Frank was a towering behemoth.
What?
He rolled across the city, rebounding off of buildings and getting cheers from onlookers below. Approaching Kyle, Frank gave a long, painful heave upwards into the sky.
Okay.
To Kyle, the sky turned black. He looked upwards to see the monstrous figure hurtling towards him. And in a moment, Kyle was completely enveloped in rubbery fat, unable to move or make noise.
Okay.
Frank was quite tired and passed out where he lay. Several years went by as Frank slumbered.
Oh.
As Kyle was held in Frank's warm, fatty embrace, his humanity began to return.
Wow.
When the first winter came, Frank's body recycled his fat for resources. Over many months, he shrank inside. Eventually, Kyle was human and Frank was thinned. They both walked away from the scene as new men.
Wow.
Neither realized how much time had passed.
Kyle prepared by being a lizard. That one was... I never expected that. I never got that in before. Okay. That's cool. But let's see more in next episode. See you guys later. Bye. What you are doing? I said bye.